Everybody, welcome to the Stories of Friendship podcast. I'm your host, Morris Anderson, and I'm joined today by Brian Lamers. Brian, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Brian Lamers. I am a principal at Excelsior Charter Schools, San Bernardino campus. I've known Morris for a few years. I met him through my wife, Kendall. I don't know how long I've known you for. A couple years now.
Like 7 years or so, yeah.
So hang out with Morris doing escape rooms and a lot of fun stuff, and excited to be on this podcast.
I'm excited to have you. Kendall is actually one of my best friends, and Brian is her husband, so it's a lot of fun to get to talk directly to somebody so personally about friendship. Let's start with what your concept of friendship is. Like, what does that word mean to you, and how has it applied to your life?
To me, I feel like it's just who are the people that have similar interest or viewpoints that are just joining me on whatever your journey through life is. It's I don't play D&D, but it's like who are my D&D posse, right?
Oh, I love that so much.
Because I think it's for me it's about surrounding myself with a lot of similar people, but also like different, right?
Okay, great. And so right now, when you think about these people that you're like, these are my crew that I journey with, where did they come from? How did you meet them? Is there anything special or specific about them?
I guess for my best, like if I had to look at my best friends in that small circle, I met a lot of them in school. And so like one of my best friends today, he was my 7th grade history teacher, my 8th grade English teacher, my master teacher for student teaching in college. And now he's just a friend, right? Like my good friend. So I've known him since, what are you in 7th grade, 12, 13? So I've known him for that long and golf with him, hang out. He moved up north, so I don't get to see him as often, but he'll still literally fly down. I'll pick him up at the airport, go golf. I'll drop him back off the airport. He'll go back up. I drive up to him in July and we go up, hang out. It's funny, I think a lot of my friends I just met through Kendall. So one of my current best friends, his name's Roberto. He is married to Amanda, who went to nursing school with Kendall.
Nice.
Right? And so then I have you, who met through Kendall's work. So I think, and then my friend Juan I met in my credential program. And so like, I'm excluding my spouse, despite the this is your best friend in the world type of thing. My non-best friends in the world, I'll say. So yeah, school, I think for the most part is how I met most of them. It's just who I ended up being around, and then obviously the marriage, and then the friendships through that, I think, are the ones that are probably the ones that are happening the most right now.
Okay. So tell me about so we always say, right, your spouse is your best friend, and obviously in that relationship it has, your wife definitely has to be that. Mm-hmm. So what does it look like for you and her when you distribute your time and priorities? Like, how do you prioritize friendship?
So I think I would consider myself to have a very successful marriage. And I think in order for that to happen, I don't think everything you do is in this circle with this spouse. I think a healthy marriage is a 2-circle Venn diagram where it's her life, my life, and then our life. And a healthy marriage, that middle part is probably a big part, right? So like if the circles are coming together, maybe they get halfway in to where half of the stuff we do together and half of the stuff we don't, right? Like there's a lot of escape rooms that I just don't join you guys in, right? Because I like them, I enjoy them, but it's not my favorite thing in the world. And sometimes I do them and sometimes I don't. I don't know how time is prioritized with her and I. It just is. Like we have Disney passes, and that's one of the things we do together. That was our first date, and so like that's one of our big things that we'll do. And then so we did it on Saturday, and then Sunday, the next day, I got up and went golfing for 4 hours and was gone by myself. So she doesn't ever go and do that with me. I wouldn't mind if she did. I encourage her to do it, but I don't think she wants to or she cares about it. But I think part of it is like spending that healthy time together, and then a bigger part is like spending healthy time apart.
Yeah.
Right, which a lot of couples don't do. I think the marriages where the Venn diagram is just a circle are super problematic, right? Because I think you don't need time apart, but you do need time to yourself.
Yes, which I think that's exactly what people don't understand, is that it's okay in marriage to have that personal time and to dedicate some time to friends. and still have plenty of time for your relationship.
Right.
Now, when you talk about like these friends from high school, when they came into the picture, like when Kendall was coming into the picture, how was that? Like, were you excited to introduce them to Kendall and vice versa?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who my friends are, because like we're not even hanging out with the same people. We always have this discussion, like we've been married for 10 years. If we had another wedding tomorrow, the wedding party would not even be the same. Like, so much of this would be different. I think, and I'm always super happy to introduce her to the people that we know. Just because I think, you're always proud of your spouse, or at least I hope, you should be. But I think anytime we do have work events, like I have to always go to a bunch of balls and stuff for my work. That my superintendent's wife is also a nurse, and so we have a lot in common. And so our wives know each other, and we know each other's wives and all that stuff. And so we're always having conversations about it. So we're always inviting them to do stuff. There was never any like conflict about who I was going to spend my time with. That's never, I don't think, ever really happened between us, because I would pick her every time. It's not even a conflict.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But what's funny, like, I have so many friends, like our second grade class, and I always talk about them with Kendall. We still all talk and hang out, like most of us. So there's a group of like me, Kevin, John, Matt, Jennifer, Lauren, Rachel, Allison, and that we still... Like, I went golfing with John last weekend.
All the way, these are people all the way from second grade.
Yeah, and Dan, like my best friend Dan, who I grew up 7 houses down from, I bought the house that I bought because Dan lives in that neighborhood.
That's crazy.
And so he lives down the street from me again, which was always our goal as children, which sounds stupid, but you're like, oh, we're going to grow up and live next to each other, and then we did it.
I think people desire to maintain friends like that in their life. So for you, how does that look? Do you have to be intentional, or is this like a natural thing? Like you guys all just enjoy each other that much? What does that look like to keep friends for that long?
It's tough. You do have to be intentional about it, but one of the things that's come up from that is like, we didn't all talk to each other this entire time, right? We all went away to college. I went to Missouri. John went to UCR. Matt moved up to Washington. Kevin now lives in Colorado. So it's difficult, but when someone visits, it's like we all try to do our best. I had a show out in Hollywood, and Jennifer and Allison had randomly showed up to it, to make the drive out from Riverside. And so it's tough to maintain those friendships, but like if there's common ground, because I think for the most part, a lot of elementary school friendships are friendships that are based on propinquity, right? You're like, we're near each other now. What we believe doesn't really matter, even though what you believe is like, who's your favorite superhero? Oh, cool, me too, we're besties. As you grow up, that falls off, right?
Yeah.
And so substance needs to take its place, or the friendship goes away.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing that we've managed to continue, is to build the friendship, because otherwise we would still be talking. And within that group, more of us talk to certain people more than others. So like Dan and I talk daily. We play Rocket League, we play video games together, all kinds of stuff. Whereas like Lauren, who lives up in Seattle, I don't talk to her that often, but when I had a show up there, she did come to it, type of thing. So it's hard to get everyone in a group and to do that, but we do have group chats where things are shared periodically. But other than that, you have to be super intentional about it, because if you don't set something up, then nobody will set something up, and it's just so many schedules that it's just hard to do.
Now, do you have somebody that normally initiates or is kind of the leader in that group, or is it distributed? Somebody's doing something and they say, hey, let's all go, or how does that look?
It's probably me, to be honest.
Yeah.
My comedy is probably the catalyst for a lot of it. So I had, 6 or 7 of them at one time had showed up to one of my shows out at the Improv. So that brought us all together. And then when I did go up north, because Matt lives up there and Lauren lives up there, there's that. Or when I go out to Palm Springs, one of the other guys, his name is Matt, he lives out in Indio, so he'll try to golf with me if he can, type of thing. So it's generally like I will send out a golf invite to John and a few other guys every week, because I golf at least once a week, I try to. And so I told all of them, I'm going to send you an invite. If you want to join me, join me. If not, don't even respond. I don't need a response from you every single day.
Yeah.
So it's probably me is the one who just kind of keeps the boat running.
Okay, and I would think that most groups do require somebody who initiates, somebody that's kind of the glue. As you know, Kendall's the glue for our group. Like, she's always saying, hey, it's this person's birthday, or let's get together and party. And then most of what we do is at your house.
I think it's just centrally located, and it's a good party house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I feel very welcomed. Right, we spend the night, like Alex and I spend the night a lot. Summer lived there. Right.
Yeah.
So it's funny that it is centrally located, but also I think just how homely it is there, and how you guys open the doors for us is a lot of why we keep coming back too.
Isn't that funny though? How some of your friendships are based upon. I think so. Yours and Kendall's friendships might not exist in a lot of marriages, right? Because there are men who might see how close you two are and feel threatened by that, and not stand in the middle of it, but stand in the middle of it to some degree.
Well, I actually talked to a couple, and they said we don't have opposite sex friendships.
Right.
So it's an absolute no-go. They can be acquaintances, but they can never. They said a friend is like a higher bond that's reserved for us. So they don't do. And for me, I'm advocating for it because I have both men and women that are very close to me in my life. And I don't see, who I am as a person and what I can elevate to is because of men and women, not just that I have close men in my life.
Right. Well, and who you are as a person is also why I feel 0% threatened by the friendship, because it's like, I know who you are as a person, and that person wouldn't steal someone's wife.
Right. Well, and if anything, like, I'm trying to come in there and enhance, right? Like, I love seeing you guys together, and then I love the fact that we all get to go out as one big group. Like, that makes me so happy. When we went for Alex's birthday last week, and it was all of us, and then you're coming there too. It's so much fun. The virtual reality, we probably wouldn't have killed as many, especially given you were second on the board.
Yeah, no, I love doing things like that, and it doesn't make sense to tell. To me, it doesn't make sense to tell a spouse what they can and can't do, or who they can and can't see. Like, that is so problematic for us that, but we see people do it every day. I'm like, that's just so belittling to so many friendships that I can't fathom telling someone, like, you can't be friends with that person because I'm insecure about it.
Right.
That's a you thing.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully stated. So I'm glad to hear the other view of that from somebody who's married, that we encourage each other's friendships. So then there's this book I read. It's called Vital Friends by Tom Rath, and he talks about how important friendship is, not just in marriage and not just platonically, but also at work. He says that, like, your coworkers, if you have friendships with them, you're more than likely going to stay at that job.
Yes.
And you'll probably be a lot more successful in the position as well. Is that something that you've seen as well, especially being a principal, because you've probably watched staff become friends and you yourself have had friends at work?
That's so funny, because we just went through our leadership retreat this last week up here, and one of the survey questions that we ask is, do you have a best friend at work? And people are like arguing, like, who cares about this question? You're like, no, it's important. If you've never had a job where you show up and you hate everyone, it's such a different job than when you show up if you have a good friend there that works there. It's just a different experience. So I think it is important. But yeah, it is fun. So I took over a campus last year, and I had to hire all brand new teachers. So I got to watch all these teachers go from strangers to best friends to, like, is this a romantic relationship that's developing? I don't really know. It's fun to watch. I don't care personally. So it is important, because the way that they work together as friends is so much better than when you just see a campus of people that tolerate each other. Oh, it sucks. But then the other part of that is, like, I tell students, your friend group is like the most important decision that you can make at this age, almost. And Kendall and I were talking about this like yesterday, I think. We're like, do you remember all the bad kids in school? Yeah. You knew they were bad, right? From like second grade, third grade, you knew who the bad kids were. Yeah. Did they grow up to do anything meaningful? No, they're in jail. How did we know that in second grade, right? But they all hung out together too.
Right.
So, and that's one thing that I really try to tell and work on my students with is, like, look, guys, the groups that you hang out with matter, because my high school group that I hung out with are all working professionals now. And then it's like the higher up you go, like if you were to break down all of the people on my college baseball team, like me being a principal I'm like the poorest on the list. Like,
crazy, right?
Yeah,
right.
it's like they're all working professionals that are doing amazing things, and you're just like, man, that was a group of people that, like, when you're hanging out with those people, they're less likely to do even something small like drink and drive, because they have more at stake that they're not willing to, risk. Whereas if you hang out with the risk takers, it's gonna burn you at some point.
Yeah. So you definitely stand by like show me your friends and I'll show. What is that saying? It's something like show me your friends and I'll show you your future, or whatever that thing is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel the same way. If you look at my high school friends, I'm probably the poorest too. Like one of them became a pharmacist, and one of them became a nurse, and one of them's like a nurse, a high school counselor. Like they all got master's degrees, and I'm like, that's so amazing that it truly, like the friend group that you hang out with, that is your future.
Yeah.
Hopefully, well, in our case. But it's great to say, like, we're succeeding and our friends are doing even more.
Right. No, it's good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about your best friend. I want to hear more about that relationship between the two of you. Why is this person your best friend? Like, how do you think you matched up? And then how do you maintain that closeness now that you have?
Are you saying my non-spouse best friend?
Your non-spouse best friend.
Okay. So that's hard. It's funny because you're like, who do I pick in this? Because I don't know who's going to listen to this and get upset by it. But if I were to say, like, my current local best friend, because Paul's not going to listen to this, who moved up north, but I would have called him my best friend. But let's say Roberto right now, it's just about like a common spot in life and a common interest in golf. And so we had made this decision together, like, look, if you'll get golf clubs, I'm going to get golf clubs, because I know what this entails, and I don't want to get back into it alone. I need a partner, because it's a lot, right? And so he kind of got into it. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And then I got him hooked, and now it's like our weekend thing. But we also kind of had like mental breakdowns at the same time, where I took like 7 weeks off of work, quit my job, and before I got recruited to come back and run this campus. And I was just like, I'm done with this. I stayed at home. I don't even have a lot of memory of that 7 weeks, to be honest. But we kind of saw life from the same lens at the same time, and was like, it doesn't really have to be like this. Like, we can just focus on ourselves and our hobbies and our friendship and what we want to do, and like get through life 1 week at a time. And then, we golf every weekend if we can. And so like having those to look forward to, that's half the battle I have found with like depression and anxiety at work, is if you can just have something on the calendar, even if it's golf next weekend, or we're trying to go to Cabo in April, anything on the calendar to look forward to makes all of this a little bit easier.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say I would frame it around just that similar lens of what's going on in your life right now that I can relate to and support. Same.
Okay, and that's like a way that you bonded deeper. Like you guys are both going through things.
Yeah, because I've known him. So, I mean, Kendall got out of the nursing program 8 years ago, something like that, 9 years ago, whatever. And we were friends. Like, we met very early on, but I wouldn't have called us friends. And then we started hanging out more than her and Amanda started hanging out. And it was like, no, we're better friends. Like, they're now acquaintances, it feels like, but we hang out more.
Yeah.
And so now that him and I started hanging out so much, now the group hangs out a lot more together.
Yeah.
They got Disney passes. They join us. We took a golf trip to Palm Spring, a couple's trip. Girls went to a spa, we went golfing type of thing. So now when you feel that closeness, it's like, well, let's hang out a lot more.
Do you feel like there's an element of vulnerability that helps anchor you guys? Like, do you feel like you can be open with him and he can be open with you?
Absolutely, yeah. When we were sharing all the stuff, the work stuff that led to both of us having to step away and take some time off. I think anytime you have the information to like ruin someone's life if you wanted to and you elect not to, I know that's a weird sentence, but if I have all the information in the world that you wouldn't want anyone else to have and it stays here, then I think the trust that you have in that person just facilitates every interaction from.
Yeah, and there's something powerful about
Yeah.
trust because you
Yeah.
can't trust everyone. And it's like you're saying, so you have this best friend who is your wife, and obviously there's that level of trust there because what choice do you have? You're living together and everything you're doing is together. But then there's this person that's outside of that bond, that commitment, which marriage has a commitment, and your platonic relationships don't necessarily have any commitment, but you're
Right.
still willing to trust them with everything.
Yeah. Well, and I think that comes in increments too, because like as you start to hang out more, and you're like, I'm gonna tell him this, and then, you tell him, and it's like, oh, nothing changed for the most part. Like it didn't alter his perception of me.
So no judgment.
Yeah, and he didn't go tell a bunch of people. So that you're like, you start with that little bit of trust. Like, here's a nugget. Let's see, right?
Yes.
And then, okay, I'm gonna say something bigger, and then you just keep, and then you get to a point where I think that guardrail falls, and you don't realize it's not there anymore, and you're just like, oh my god, did I really just say that? Without even like thinking about it? Like, should I have said that to him? Well, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah.
So when you can get to that point where you're like, I can say anything, and I'm not scared of where that information ends up, then yeah, I think that's a true friend.
Oh, that's good stuff. How have you had to show up for your friends, or how have they had to show up for you that's like a meaningful, deep way?
So at one point, my friend Steven, he was going through a divorce, and I was actually his boss at the time. And so this is when I was the principal at the Phelan campus, and he came to me and he's like, hey man, like, this just happened. I have nowhere to stay. I have nothing, right? And so I'm like, dude, I have a room. Just move in. So he gets there, and he's like moving his stuff in, and he has almost nothing. And I'm like, where's your bed? And he's like, oh, I don't even have a bed. And he's a teacher. He had no money. And so Kendall and I were like, oh, we were about to go buy a bed anyways. Take our bed. And then we went and bought a bed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm like, if he doesn't tell this story at my funeral, I swear to God, Steven. But like that's one of the ways where I had a conversation with my boss about homelessness, because I'm always intrigued by homelessness, because my question to you is, do you understand, like, what would it take? How many relationships and friendships would you have to burn before you ended up homeless?
Like a lot.
Yeah. Right. Because
yeah.
there's no way that Kendall is letting Morris sleep outside.
Right.
There's no way Brian's letting Morris sleep outside. There's no way Summer's letting
Yeah.
Morris sleep outside. And so when you see a homeless person, you're just like, you want to feel bad for them, but at the same time, you're like, how many bridges did you burn?
Right. To
get to
allow
that
you.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like you guys wouldn't even let me be on that path.
No.
Like if I told you, oh, I'm financially a mess, like you guys would be like, well, it's time to financially get yourself together.
Right. And so, like, to me, that's one way, because Steven moved out and then Summer moved right in,
Yeah.
right? Because she would do the same thing. And
Yeah.
so you're just like, okay. So, and there was no hesitation whatsoever from any of us.
Right.
And even though it's like Steven leaves, but then Summer comes in, oh no, Summer's kid's there too. And you're like, all right, that's two people, that's two rooms.
When having a kid in the house is a whole different thing
right,
for you guys.
especially
too.
when you're like, we're not, I'm not a huge kid person.
Yeah.
But Luke is just like, and Luke's not a kid, but he is a kid. But I think being there for your friends in that situation is, I can't even fathom letting someone that I know struggle there. Like,
Yeah.
It takes nothing to help them. If you have a room or you have whatever, I can't. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think that's so impactful. Yeah. I had my first guest that I interviewed, she said, oh, my neighbor gave me a car. And I was like, that's the kind of powerful friendship that we all want, we all desire, because who's just going to give you a car? And it sounds easy to say, like, oh, I have an extra room, and so I'm going to move somebody in. But there are plenty of people who would say, no, I'm like, this is my guest room, or you should have done better. You should have made better choices.
Right.
But I think that somebody who believes in, A, the power of friendship, and 2, that you take care of your people is going to move the person in. So that's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the whole point of humanity. Like, I'll proudly say I'm atheist. And so people love to ask me, like, well, what's the point of life? I'm like, friends, family. Like, because people have done horrific things, right? I'm not going to go through them. I used to teach history, but people have done horrific things. But through every single one of those horrific things, another group of people stood up and fixed it. So people, like, what do you believe in? I believe in good people.
Okay, which I love, and I honor that. And I also stand on, if we're here because we're supposed to be relational. We're supposed to go out and make friends. You're not supposed to be here alone and selfish.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's why we can communicate effectively and animals really can't sometimes.
Right.
Because they're there to eat each other.
Yeah, but sometimes they do better than we do. They're little packs. I guess depending on the species, right? But okay, so how do you make friends now? Is there, because we know there's this loneliness right here in America where people are saying, I don't need other people in my life, or I only need my spouse or girlfriend, fiance, whatever, right? I only need one person. Or people are flat out just like, I'm a loan shark.
Yeah, no, I just made friends last week, so I got paired with a couple on the golf course. So I'm golfing with second grade John, and we get paired with this couple, and I had made a comment. I was telling a story, and she goes, what school? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a principal of this school. And she's like, I'm a vice principal out here, and he's a teacher. So this couple, and they had Disney passes. And so throughout the round, the more you talk to them, the more you see, like, yes, my vision for my life and your vision is the same.
Yeah.
Right? And so you start to hang out more and talk more. And so she saw I did comedy, and so she followed me on Instagram, and then I followed her, and now we're messaging like, let's get a Disney date on the calendar. Let's get more golf dates on the calendar. I think it's just like, whenever you do things, right? Disney, golf, anything, if you're going to be surrounded by people anyways, why don't you just pick the people you like?
True. Very true.
And so when you start to see like similar ideologies just with life in general, it's so much easier to surround yourself with those people and not have to be around people that say things that you're just like...
Right, that sounds crazy. But do you have friends now that have some opposing views or that are totally different from you?
Oh yeah, my best friend who lives in that neighborhood that lived down the street from me as a child is a hardcore conservative, and I would call myself super liberal.
Okay.
And so we don't talk about any of it.
Got it. So you guys connect on other levels, but you understand.
Yeah, we don't even...
We're opposite.
We
here.
understand we're not gonna... He was in law enforcement.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just like... He sees things differently than I do, right? Because my principal lens that I see is so much different than what he sees.
Okay. And it didn't make you love him any less? You guys just figured out how to...
Yeah, I think with him, our bond was like so deep that I don't even have the same level of resentment that I have with a lot of people when they say dumb political things. And I always chalk it up because if you look at... There's a good study on political affiliation by... occupation, and law enforcement's the top. So I almost look at that as like he didn't really have a choice.
Okay.
He just got grouped in with a bunch of dudes who had this vision of life, and he just adopted it and went.
I see.
And maybe I did the same thing because teacher and liberal was one of the same ones too.
Yeah.
So maybe we were just destined with the groups that we fell into, and because we've known each other for so long and just love each other, that other stuff doesn't even really matter.
Which I think is beautiful because right now we do see like political affiliation or religion tearing friendships apart, tearing people apart, tearing families apart. And for me, it's kind of sad since I believe in friendship so much. I think that if you have a friendship already, there is no reason that a political divide should separate you as friends. I mean, I know it happens, but... I believe our political ideology, religion, affiliation, right, it doesn't describe who we are. Mm-hmm. But that's what's happening right now. It's, oh, well, you're on this side, so you must be this horrible person, or...
I think you feel that way about you because your political affiliation doesn't decide who you are. But I think there's a healthy amount of people who... They're so passionate about this political candidate because... it's hard to say, but like for the most part, it's going to be offensive. But the people that are the most gung-ho about Trump are not people that I would call winners. And so they've attached themselves to this victory, right? So if I'm losing at life, I'm not doing well, I hate my job, I hate everything about what's going on in the country, I feel like it should be going a different way. And then, hey, this guy, he's saying a lot of things that I agree with, even if they're awful, right, about certain groups of people. And then I support him. I've got the stickers. I've got all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm on this winning team. And that's one thing as a liberal that I'm so jealous of politically is like they seem to be having so much fun. And like conservatives like fall in line and liberals have to fall in love with their candidate. And that's an annoying thing. It's like liberals will run someone out and half of our party will eat them alive. Whereas conservatives understand like we just have to uniform together, right?
Yeah.
But not a lot of independent thought on that side. And that's what like, let's just fall in line, vote for this person. But now they're part of this winning team. That's why they have the flags, right? In the same way that like Raider flags or Broncos, like I have a Broncos thing, and so when people see it, they're like, yeah, Broncos, yeah, this, and we're part of that community.
Yes.
Trump now, there's all these losers out there that feel like winners, and it feels good because they're not used to winning.
Okay,
So-
that's fair.
I think those people, it's hard to be friends with, especially if their ideology is like, I think that these groups of people that I don't believe shouldn't exist.
Yeah, or should
I
be
don't need
oppressed
to,
somehow.
I don't need to be friends with that person.
I see. Which I can get behind. If they're that far, then
Yeah,
now their values go against my values.
right.
So tell me more about that, then, because to me that's like that's getting deep, right? When we start to talk about our own personal values, how do you see your friends now? Like most of them would align more along the lines of like the values that you hold.
Yeah, I would say most of them are liberal. And that's funny because like even Dan, who's conservative, is not a Trumper. He doesn't have a single Trump anything. He doesn't even like Trump. He just votes because he's not voting for liberals.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I don't... All of my friends pretty much share the same viewpoint of like not trying to oppress groups of people. And I saw a meme today I wish I could articulate that was like conservatives vote for things, you know, that they don't want to happen to them, and liberals vote for things that they don't believe should happen to anybody, type of thing, which I think is perfect. Like, you know, you never see a conservative senator give a shit about gay marriage until their son ends up gay.
Right.
Now
right.
the problem hits home. Now I care about it.
Yeah.
All of my friends care about the problems that don't impact them.
Yeah. So, would you say there's a lot more empathy on?
Yeah, that's empathy is the word I use the most when I'm arguing with people on the internet.
And I feel that way too. There's a lot more empathy on one side versus the other.
Yeah. Well, because it's that whole like they came for so and so and I was quiet, and they came for so and so and I was like, you're going to be next at some point.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop.
Right.
So, and we are in the find out phase of the most recent election.
Yeah.
So.
So what about in terms of religions? So you're an atheist, and how would you say you deal with like your friends that are of a certain religion? Like, does that come up? Is that a problem?
Yeah, I mean, my friend Dan, he sends his kids to a Catholic school. His wife is an assistant for whoever at their Catholic church. We don't talk about it. Like, it's just, I have nothing to say about it. He has nothing to say about it. We don't really address it. And I have friends that are religious. I think you're religious. I try not to say super offensive things around them if I can, because like I don't like making people feel bad, especially. But like at the same time, my perception of religion is that it brings down society and that it does create hate in groups that, you know, I watch students use the Bible to justify homophobia.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it in school. I saw it this year at school. I saw a bunch of kids clap when a kid said it.
Yeah.
You're like, oof, we have a lot of work to do. So in that sense, I think religion, you know, is just, it's negative. I never felt like I had an opportunity to be religious. I started at a Catholic school in kindergarten. And if you ask my parents, I rejected that so fast in kinder that it never ever had a chance to stick. So it's not that I don't want to, I can't get to my, you know, it's like being such a hardcore Bronco fan. This sounds really stupid, but if you were like, make the case that one of your division rivals who sucks, like the Raiders, is a good team, I couldn't do it. I physically could not do it, no matter how much I want.
Yeah.
Can't. It's just never been there. So if it's something that you find peace in and it helps you in a positive way and you don't use it to justify bigotry, I don't care.
And so your friends now, you don't find that issue at all.
No, because I have a few that they're probably those like weird hippie types that would tell you like, oh, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Because I am very interested in how we relate to one another and what boundaries exist to prevent us from relating. And like we were saying, like those are two of the big ones that, I can't be friends with you because you believe this way or you align politically this way. So very interesting. All right. So give me some friendship nuggets. Like what, if you had to give the audience some, here's what you do to build better friendships or find friendships. What does that look like?
Oh man, that's tough. I do think like trying to meet people halfway and figure out. I think a big part of it too is like, what do you want out of this? Or not what you want, but like, what do you expect out of this friendship? Like, expectations are everything in everything, right? I was explaining to my dad, because we go to Topgolf. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit better, and I had bought him golf clubs exactly a year ago for his birthday. He's like, I think I'm ready to go out on a golf course now. It'll be really fun. I'm like, no. That's where you're wrong. Your expectations are what is going to make this not fun. Like, if you are going out there expecting to hit the ball perfectly every time like you're doing right now at Topgolf, you're in for a heck of a day. It's about to go super wrong. And so I think, like, with friends, your expectations need to match also. Like, why are we hanging out type of thing? I'm sure you've hung out with a friend who's like, oh, let's eat at this restaurant. And like they pick the restaurant every time, or they pick the activity, or they pick the movie or whatever. And it's like, why am I hanging out with this person? Is it because it's better than the alternative of being alone? So I don't know what the nugget is in that, other than like, I think you have to be intentional about, am I dominating every conversation, every decision, every thought?
Okay, those are good. So let's break it down, because we talk about expectations on a couple of these episodes, where to me expectations can be a downfall in friendship, right? If I text you and you don't text me back within 5 minutes, and I say, well, why aren't you getting back to me? That's an expectation that I have. How, do you have expectations like that for your friends, for your best friends?
No, I do think I treat people the way at least I would want to be treated in situations. And I think one of those situations is, I have friends that I met in comedy, and because I'm not doing so much comedy right now because of my job, that we might check in twice a year. And it's like, hey man, miss you. You know, like one of those Mike James, I'm sure you've seen in one of my shows.
Yep.
Just had a baby 2 years ago, and wife went into labor just like yesterday, whatever, for baby number 2.
Wow.
And so I know I'm not going to see this man a lot in the next 900 days for the most part. And so it's still about, like, what I do is I just send out the same way with my other friends, like, hey, I'm going to send you stuff. Like, let's get lunch, let's play golf, let's do this, let's do that. I'm just going to keep sending you stuff. Don't feel obligated to even respond. If one of the lines that I throw out to you catches, let's do it. Otherwise, you throw me some dates, I'll throw them back to you, and we'll do what we can.
So, in a way, I'm hearing the expectation is very low or non-existent. Because just to say, I'm going to send you messages. If you don't respond, I'm not mad, I'm not upset. I understand you're probably busy. But if I do send a message and you're available, then let's do it.
Yeah, because if your expectation is like, oh, they're going to hang out with me often or even a little bit, compared to like, just set your expectation, I'm never going to see this person, and then just be super excited and surprised when you get to.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because I'm at the age where all of our friends either have small children or are having small children. Again, Kendall too. And so it's like, we have a handful of couples that don't have kids, and that's why, like, when you get paired with someone on a golf course with Disney passes and the same jobs and the same ideology that you have, you're like, let's go hang out and see what happens and lock this up.
That's good stuff. Yeah. And then I like what you're talking about, because this has not come up, like, conversationally, how we behave is important as well. I have some friends that are a little bit more on I'm going to do all the talking, and you're probably going to have to listen to me for quite a bit. And they almost forget to even check on you, right? It's like, I'm so excited to tell you everything that's going on with me, and I might slide in, "How are you?" But the "How are you" is not even.
It's not. Yeah, they don't. It's just formality.
It's a formality, not really.
Not
We're about to
genuine.
engage in you. We're with me for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance that in your friendships?
I think my friends know, like with me, I've always given them a healthy dose of honesty. I'm sure you can attest to that. Like even things that like, why would you say that right now? You could probably could have held that in for the time being. But to me, it's like if we are good friends, I'm not going to be that inauthentic to you. You know, like the last thing I would, and I do. I wouldn't say I'm like a super great friend all the time. I think I have moments, but like even after the VR thing, I was like, I just went to bed. I don't remember even saying goodbye. Like we got to my house, I went up and changed, and I went to bed, and I was like, well, I didn't really say goodbye to anybody. But then at the same time, I'm like, I feel close enough to you guys where you're like, did you go home butthurt that I didn't say goodbye to you? Probably not. You know? So I don't know. It's just balancing. There's a time and there's a place for things, and I think I'm good at the things that need to be done. But that's also why I'm with Kendall, because she's like, we're so yin yang with a lot of my weaknesses are her strengths and vice versa. And I think that's why life's so easy with her is, and she's so good at navigating certain things, and even ways that like, I know I'm probably difficult to live with in certain ways, and she navigates those ways. Instead of like telling me what to do, she'll do some. So like a great example is like when I wake up, I have to blow my nose like 50 times. I don't know why, I just do it. And I'm in such a hurry because I can't be bothered to set an alarm to get up early enough. So I get up and I blow my nose, all this, and I leave all the tissues out my sink. We have his and her sinks, right? And so then I'll go and I'll get changed and I'll do this and do that and do that. And then the tissues are just there. And so I'll get a picture. I got a picture a couple days ago from Kendall. She's like, hey, I put a trash can right next to, like, it's on the bathtub for your tissues, right? And that's her saying, throw your goddamn tissues away, right?
Yeah.
But she would never, like, say, hey, could you throw your tissues away? She's so supportive and does it in a way that's like, hey, I know you can't see things, like, because I'm the person that I'm in such a hurry all the time, or like, I'll take things out of the kitchen and like the drawer will still be open and the cabinet will be open and I just won't close it because I'm just in the middle of something and my ADHD is just gone.
Yeah.
Right? And so she does such a good job of mitigating those things in a normal and healthy way.
That's good stuff.
Doesn't, like, I would never say she's a nag. Like, she's never nagged me ever.
How so then? Because I think that's beautiful. How would you apply that then to your platonic relationships? Like, because Kendall's now considered you, like considered how she can best address you and love you at the same time. How would you address that platonically?
That's a good question. I think I'm really good at recognizing things in people like that. It's hard to like get into it without throwing anyone under the bus on the podcast. Let me think for a second if I can do that, or what example I can give. I don't even know. See, I mean, that's the thing about is I'm so hyper aware of hurting anyone's feelings in certain situations like this too, that like it's not even worth like possibly hurting someone's feelings and trying to explain. But I think I have very high emotional intelligence, and so just recognizing certain things and not making a comment about something that I probably 10 years ago might have made, or a joke. Well, you know, one thing that I really stopped, like with Kendall especially, I stopped making the types of jokes that normally you only see like really like boomers would make, but like jokes that have no upside to them. So like our washing machine broke and has been on the fritz, and like I tend to ruin laundry when I do it a lot because, you know, I don't know, women's clothes are always like 50 different methods of washing them, whereas all of mine you just dump in, right?
Right.
So Kendall does the laundry for that reason. And so the washer and dryer, or, you know, break or whatever, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, the, you know, dryer's not working, I haven't been able to get to the laundry. In the past, I would have made a joke like, yeah, I was wondering why I started to pile up. Just like, it's just a joke, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wins in that joke. She's not going to feel good because all that's doing is like, yeah, you do the laundry and it's backed up. Why? Like,
Yeah.
it's not, so even making those jokes, and when I see couples make those jokes, now I cringe, and I tell them, like, don't make those jokes. Like, who wins in that joke? Nobody wins in that joke.
So there's a higher level of consideration that you have now versus then. And so that's like some internal work, do you feel like you did?
Yeah, and it's funny because like we go through all the Myers-Briggs stuff at work, and Kendall and I are probably up. Like I'm thinking she's feeling, and she's like ultra feeling, and I'm like ultra thinking, and so ultra thinking has a tendency to hurt ultra feelings often. And early on, I absolutely hurt her feelings all the time unintentionally, and I realized that like the very first time I ever like really made her upset is I had called her little sister annoying. That was all I had said. I was like, yeah, your little sister's kind of annoying. And she got really emotional about it. And I was like, what did I say? Like, at the time, she was like 7, which all 7-year-olds suck.
Yeah.
They're all annoying. And that's when I start to realize, like, oh, I need to be careful about what I'm saying around this person. And, like, I would say slowly but surely, she has gotten me to the point to, like, yeah, start considering that type of stuff. And then I think I've gotten her to a point, too, where she knows better where I'm coming from. And it's like, he doesn't always mean the things he says the way he says them. He's not always tactful, I guess.
Do you guys look at the 5 love languages at all?
We have in the past. I can't remember. Like hers, like is I think touch. Like she's all about that. I don't remember what mine was. I think it's like acts of service or something.
Okay, yeah, acts of service.
I can't remember.
Just curious because then in consideration, that's like something to consider, right? And I think even platonically trying to figure out how to best love somebody and make them feel good, it's important, right? Like if I go out and get you a gift and gifts don't impress you, or like you don't need gifts or whatever, then I may have felt good about what I gave to you, but you're like, that doesn't have as much connection or meaning to me.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. No, that's funny because it's like, how many times have you been given a gift by someone that it does the opposite effect, where it's like, do you even know who I am?
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, they feel good, well-intentioned, and then you now feel bad. And it's like, you don't address it, right? You can't address it sometimes. It's hard. So that's a good, I don't know.
So I'll say it is good to explore, and I think some friendships maybe wither a little bit just because they're looking for reciprocation, right? Like what I gave this to you, and so I want you to give this back to me, and there's not a satisfaction in what was given, whether it was an act of service or quality time or whatever it was. Now you're trying to reciprocate, and it's just not even equal because you're not even good at that's not your love language. You're not even good at that. So for my friends, I look at if I do, because I love giving gifts. So like if I do get a gift for somebody, what is their takeaway going to be from that? No matter what, like even if they don't want to receive a gift, how does this gift?
That's so funny because that brings up number one the when you had those gifts at our house and those people were coming to get them, and like you had like the custom wrapping paper and all that. But what's funny about that is going back to like the not making the jokes. There was a joke in there that I was like I wasn't gonna make with you about because when you were like, did you find the presents? And I was like, yeah, I found them in your trunk. There was no custom wrapping paper with my name on it, but that's fine. And I only say that now because it's like I explained to you, like I'm not going to make those backhanded comments to someone because there's no benefit to that. Like, what am I trying to make you feel bad that But then it's like I'm not as special as all these other people that you're giving these clear gifts. Like when they show up and they're so meaningful, and one of them's just like, oh, I'm going to come back and bring you something for him, and then you're like, okay, whatever. And so it's funny to see like. I can even see the meaning and all that stuff even when it's wrapped. And I can't see it. I can still see it because the customization of the wrapping that you went through was just like the thought. What was in that didn't even matter.
Which I did have a lot of them tell me, I don't even want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to even get past the wrapping paper. Like I just want to leave it like it is. And I'm like, well, you can't do that because there's actually stuff inside.
Because with the sentiment, you've already won.
Yeah.
The gift was, it's already there, right? It's the sentiment and the effort.
Yeah. So I try to look at my relationships like that. Like if I like what is the highest value I could get out of this, whether this is your thing or not.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I had just bought a gift for Steven because he just got promoted to principal of the Phelan campus, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so the gift I had gotten him was a $5 mini fire extinguisher to put out fires, right? It's like but you're not giving someone a $5 fire extinguisher. I'm giving him a gift that lets him know I'm here for you. We can do this. You can do this. You're not alone, right? That's what that gift means.
Yeah.
And so it's like the meaning behind the gifts are more important than like what you're unwrapping.
True. Yeah, very true. Very true. And those gifts, a lot of them were the ones that I gave were like it was the book,
The
right?
photo album?
Yeah, which is even more sentimental, right? Like here's all of our experiences wrapped up in this book. So I definitely think that whether you give a gift or you cook a meal for somebody or something, because like Kendall, those acts of services come in real strong with her.
And that's my favorite thing to do. So the days that she works, I cook.
Okay.
And so she will come home, and so I have to time everything to her, she walking into the door to the meal being ready. And so I love doing it, and I'll go watch all these YouTube videos and try to figure out all this stuff and cook her all these things. And it's one of my favorite things in the world to do.
Oh, and that food is good, because I've been over.
Yeah, most of it's all right. There's the occasional, I think there's way too much salt in this one, or I don't know what the fuck happened with this one, but yeah, I like doing it, and it's like, it's 2 hours to do, and she'll do the dishes every single time, and it's like, it's just, we have such a good dynamic, and not that like everyone knows their jobs and their roles or whatever, but it's more like, no, I like doing that for her, and I'm awful at like minor, with my personality, like small maintenance, routine maintenance type things, I'm abysmal. So dishes, laundry, stuff like that, my brain is like,
Yeah.
But like, if it's creative or I can do something, like cooking, I can get creative. It's funny because we were cooking dinner kind of together, and I'm just cutting potatoes, and she's like, what are you going to do with those? And I was like, I don't really know yet. She's like, what do you mean you don't know yet? Right? Because she's like, I'm going to find a recipe, I'm going to get everything out, and then I'm going to do it, right? And with me, I'm like, and I throw it in, I'm like, oh, let's add this, and then let's add this, and taste it, and let's add it. And so like, when I start something, I truly don't know where I'm going half the time.
That's funny, yeah.
And like, you tell her that, she's just like, what? You can't even fathom that, right? It's just more fun that way. But also, I don't like to be so regimented with certain things that it's an art form. You should be able to play around in the kitchen with it.
Definitely. Good stuff. All right, Brian. So, any final words on friendship for the audience?
No, just be the friend that you wish you had.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Where can we find you?
So, we're using my principal name for this, my real name, so I'm not really on anything on that.
Okay.
And I'm not going to give my comedy socials right now, just because the last 35 days have been tough online, and none of that stuff needs to be read right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, team. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful episode of Stories of Friendship. We're going to give Brian a big thank you for joining me this afternoon. And he's actually in my house, which he comes to every once in a while. Every once in a blue moon, he's here. I'm mainly over there at Kendall and Brian's house. Mm-hmm. All right. Take care, you guys.